I was 3 years old when my dad walked out on us. I don't remember much about that day except my mom's tears and a half-packed suitcase by the door. What I do remember is the phone call a year later announcing that he and his new wife Lorraine were expecting a baby. My half-sister, Ava. Madison, sweetie, he'd said during one of his sporadic visits when I was 7. You're a big sister now. Isn't that exciting? I nodded because that's what he wanted to see. But the truth was, Ava might as well have been a character in a book. Someone who existed only in stories my dad occasionally told. We never visited each other's houses. Never celebrated birthdays together. Never built the sisterly bond that Dad pretended we had whenever guilt crept into his voice. Your sister is learning to ride a bike, he'd say. Or, Ava got the lead in her school play. Always Ava this, Ava that. A phantom sister who apparently excelled at everything while barely acknowledging my existence. Dad tried. I'll give him that. He showed up for my high school graduation and sent birthday cards with increasingly generic messages as the years passed. But we were never close. How could we be when he had his real family waiting at home? With time, photography became my escape. While other kids were hanging out at the mall, I was saving up for my first DSLR camera. I loved capturing moments that told stories. After college, I built a solid reputation shooting for commercial clients. Sleek product shots, corporate headshots, industrial installations, that was my bread and butter. I rarely did weddings because there was too much drama and too many emotions. But I was good at them when I did. Madison? My phone rang one afternoon while I was editing a shoot for a local restaurant chain. Dad? I answered, surprised. We hadn't spoken in months. Hey, sweetie. How's my favorite photographer doing? His voice had that forced cheerfulness that always preceded a request. I'm good. Busy. What's up? I leaned back in my chair, already bracing myself. Well, I have some news. Your sister Ava is getting married next month. Oh. I paused. That's nice. Congratulations to her. Thanks, I'll pass that along. He cleared his throat. Listen, I was wondering, she's trying to cut some costs on the wedding, and when I mentioned you're a professional photographer, she seemed interested. I almost laughed. Interested? Dad, Ava has never even spoken to me. We've been in the same room maybe 3 times in our entire lives. I know. But this could be a chance for you two to connect. She's family, Madison. You want me to shoot her wedding? For free? It would mean a lot to her. To me too. I should have said no. Every professional instinct screamed at me to decline. But some small, stupid part of me, the part that still wanted my father's approval, couldn't form the word. Fine, I heard myself say. But I'm bringing my boyfriend Jake as an assistant. And I expect to be treated like family, not just the help. Of course. Thank you, sweetheart. This means so much. I hung up feeling like I'd just agreed to photograph a stranger's wedding. Because that's exactly what I had done. Not because I owed Ava anything, but because I wanted to be the bigger person. I prepped and planned. Jake and I took it seriously. Little did I know how much I'd regret that decision. The morning of Ava's wedding arrived with clear skies and a knot in my stomach. Jake and I loaded our equipment into the car, triple-checking our gear list. When we arrived, I found Ava sitting in front of a mirror, surrounded by bridesmaids I'd never met. You're here, she said flatly. Good. I have a shot list. She handed me a 3-page document without even standing up. Each page was filled with detailed requests, times, and locations. No, thank you. No, I appreciate you doing this. Nothing. Morning to you too, Ava, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Congratulations on your big day. She glanced up briefly. Thanks. Make sure you get the dress from all angles before I put it on. And candids of the bridesmaids getting ready. Oh, and my mom wants special shots with her sisters. Lorraine entered the room then, stopping short when she saw me. Madison, she said with a tight smile. Your father mentioned you'd be helping out. Helping out. Like I was some amateur with a point-and-shoot camera. Happy to be here, I lied, already unzipping my camera bag. For the next 6 hours, Jake and I worked non-stop. I photographed every moment, including Ava slipping into her designer gown, her father's tears when he saw her, tears he never shed for me, and the bridesmaids fussing over her veil. By the time the ceremony ended, my feet were throbbing. No one had offered us water. No one had suggested we take a break. Just a few more group shots outside, Ava announced as guests began moving toward the reception hall. Family first, then wedding party. The family shots didn't include me, of course. I stood behind my camera, directing poses, while my father, Lorraine, and various relatives I barely recognized arranged themselves around Ava. Can you get more of the fountain in the background? Ava called out. And tell Mom to fix her hair. Jake brought me a bottle of water he'd managed to snag from somewhere. You're a saint, I whispered, gulping it down. By the time we finished the outdoor shots, the sun was setting, and my stomach was growling loudly enough for Jake to hear. Let's grab some food at the reception, he suggested. We've earned it. The reception hall was beautifully decorated, and elegant place cards sat on each plate. I scanned the tables, looking for our names. Maybe we're at the family table? Jake suggested, but I already knew better. I found Ava near the head table, surrounded by her bridesmaids. Ava, I said. Hey, quick question. Where should Jake and I sit? She blinked at me like I'd asked something absurd. Oh. There's no table for you. Sorry. You're working, she said flatly. You're not a guest. I stared at her with wide eyes. I've been on my feet for 8 hours. No food. No water. I didn't think it was a big deal. Photographers don't usually sit down at weddings. And we didn't want to pay for extra plates. You didn't pay for anything, I said quietly, heat rising to my face. She rolled her eyes like a teenager being scolded. Oh, come on. I thought you were doing this to be nice. Do you want me to Venmo you for a burger or something? That was it. Something snapped inside me. A lifetime of being the afterthought, the obligation, the half-sister who didn't quite count as family, it all crystallized in that moment. I turned to Jake, who had heard everything. We're leaving, I said clearly. What? Ava's perfect smile faltered. You can't leave. You haven't photographed the reception yet. The first dance, the cake cutting. Find another photographer, I replied, already packing my spare lenses. Maybe someone who doesn't need to eat. My father appeared at Ava's side. What's going on? Your daughter, I said, emphasizing the word, doesn't think I deserve a seat at dinner because I'm just the photographer. Dad's face fell. Madison, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I cut him off. Ava made it perfectly clear. I'm not family today. I'm staff. You're being dramatic, Ava hissed. It's not personal. I laughed. Not personal? You've never even acknowledged me as your sister. And now you expect me to work for free and starve while doing it? I turned to my father. All these years, I tried. I really did. But this? This is where I draw the line. I grabbed my camera bag, took Jake's hand, and we walked out. Just like that. We drove to a steakhouse downtown, ordered the most expensive items on the menu, and took our time. I silenced my phone and focused on the man across from me, who had spent his day helping me and being more family than my actual relatives. To knowing your worth, Jake said, raising his glass. I clinked mine against his. And to never working for family again. The next morning, I woke to 37 text messages and 12 missed calls. I scrolled through them with detached curiosity. From Ava, what the hell? Thanks for ruining my day. Unbelievable. Selfish brat. From my dad, where are you? We need the reception shots. Are you seriously abandoning your sister's wedding? Madison, please call me. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I spent the day importing the photos I had taken, not bothering to edit a single one. No color correction. No cropping. No removal of unflattering angles or double chins. Just raw, unfiltered reality. 3 days later, I drove to Ava's condo and dropped a plain USB drive in her mailbox. No note. No explanation. Just hundreds of unedited photos. It was evidence of the 8 hours I'd given her before remembering what I was worth. My phone rang as I was driving home. You call these photos? Ava's voice was shrill. Half of them are blurry. And where are the reception shots? You got what you paid for, I replied calmly. Next time, hire someone professional. Someone who isn't family. Dad was right about you, she spat. Always the victim. Always so selfish. I pulled over to the side of the road, suddenly needing to focus on this conversation. Let me make something clear, I said, my voice steady. I was never your sister. Not in any way that matters. I was just someone you thought you could use. That's not. I hope you had a beautiful wedding, Ava. I truly do. But don't contact me again unless you're ready to be actual family. I hung up and blocked her number. 2 weeks later, my father showed up at my apartment. I let him in but didn't offer coffee. The photos were beautiful, he said quietly, sitting on the edge of my couch. What you captured, before you left. I did my job, I replied. I should have spoken up, he admitted. When Ava said there wasn't a seat for you. I should have done something. I looked at this man who had drifted in and out of my life, always promising more than he delivered. Yes, you should have. But that's our pattern, isn't it? He flinched. Madison. No, I interrupted gently. It's okay. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just clear about what I deserve and who I want in my life. He nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. And I'm not on that list, am I? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. As I closed the door behind him, I felt lighter. Some family ties aren't meant to bind us forever. Some are meant to be cut, making room for the family we choose. Making room for the ones who make sure we always have a seat at the table. Write in the comments what would you have done and subscribe to our channel D-Damn Mix.